want you to imagine the soil under your feet. Red, warm, and alive. Not just as ground for crop, but as ground for dreams, ideas, as a space for us to grow. Quiet revolution waiting for breath.
Adversaries demanding accommodation, but as partners seeking to build something unprecedented. A regulatory framework that protects consumers while enabling innovation. We didn't push against skepticism. We listened to it. We understood the mandate to protect consumers and maintain financial stability. And we asked a very simple question. Can blockchain technology solve real problems for real Ugandans? Perhaps the fondest memory I have in this journey is a private dinner we held in 2022, where we invited the deputy governor of the central bank, now our governor, to discuss the path to regulation. That evening marked accelerated progress. From that moment forward, he pursued this action, this vision relentlessly, even at the highest level, the financial sector stability forum. And today, he's here leading us forward. And Dr. Michael, from all of us here, thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. Distinguished dignitaries, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. To me, it is an honor to address the third edition of the Kampala Blockchain Summit. We are meeting at a pivotal moment in Uganda's financial future, where decisions we make today are going to shape the structure, the safety, and the competitiveness of our economy for decades to come. To the blockchain association of Uganda, you've gathered here not just to observe innovation, but to shape it. This is not a mere third annual summit. It is a third step in the journey that will determine whether Uganda leads or follows in the digital transformation of finance. Your theme, from regulation to growth, Uganda as a regional hub for virtual assets, is asking very defining questions. Can we embrace innovations with boldness while safeguarding stability with wisdom? These are not rhetorical questions. To me, they require real answers, forged through collaboration between regulators, industry, and the broader public. We are living at a time when a month in digital innovation can alter the entire business model. Blockchain sits at the center of this acceleration. Technologies once considered theoretical, for example, the tokenized securities, the programmable money, tokenized commodities, and blockchain-based cross-border payments, are now operational in a diverse market. They are reshaping how value is stored, moved, and trusted. Colleagues, we need to get Uganda out of the financial stone age and bring us. The question for Uganda is no longer whether these technologies matter. It's whether we will be architects of their adoption or mere users of systems designed elsewhere. So, what is the stance in Uganda? To me, it's prudence, not hesitation. For years, Uganda has been characterized as a cautious or as being cautious towards cryptocurrencies. Let me clarify. Our stand has not been hesitation. It has been prudence. And we said publicly that virtual assets are not legal tender and that participation is at one's own risk. Some interpreted this as being conservative. But what is conservative about protecting millions of citizens from products they may not fully understand? What is obstructionist about insisting that innovations must not outpace consumer protection? This was not prohibition. It was a pause, a deliberate effort to build understanding before establishing a clear, enforceable regulatory framework. Let me give an example. Uganda discovered the first commercial oil in 2006. If I remember very well, it was an oil we called importer. Ghana discovered commercial oil 1 year later, in 2007. In 2010, Ghana had started drilling commercial oil. Uganda to date has started drilling oil. But I want you to ask yourself, who has a better legal environment surrounding the production of oil? The benefits for all Ugandans. Patience is prudence. Stakeholder consultation is very key. So in as much as we haven't made progress, I think we have been consulting on this issue of cryptocurrencies, blockchain, technology, and all these virtual assets. And it is that consultation that is very important in shaping sound legal environment and the benefit of everyone. So during this period, the Bank of Uganda worked collaboratively with fellow regulators and with the Blockchain Association to build technical capacity and study global standards. Through the Financial Sector Stability Forum, like was mentioned by Reggie earlier on, a technical working group was formed to assess the use cases, risks, and mitigation measures across the sector. Because we were trying to understand what is this animal here that the private sector knows better than the regulators. What are the benefits, what are the risks, what are the vulnerabilities, and what do we need to put in place to mitigate it? And just weeks ago, the Financial Technical Authority concluded a comprehensive national risk assessment of virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. And that was escalated to the Financial Sector Stability Forum, discussed, informed the policy note that was shared in the cabinet, and like Greg has mentioned, we are now at the law reform trying to see what kind of environment we're going to put in place for virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. So, let me just share some key findings. Virtual assets in Uganda present significant risks, stemming primarily from limited customer due diligence, weak governance structures, and informal shadow systems operating without oversight. One data point stands out: 84.5% of the virtual asset activity in Uganda occurs on decentralized platforms, far above the sub-Saharan average of 63.8%. This means that most Ugandans users operate in environments where supervision is technically challenging and consumer recourse is practically non-existent. Stablecoins are widely used for remittances and cross-border payments. Their appeal is understandable, but their implications are serious. They carry foreign exchange risk, create monetary substitution, where Ugandans hold value in foreign pegged digital instruments rather than in the Uganda shillings. These issues are too consequential to ignore. The message is clear: regulatory uncertainty is no longer tenable. But equally, outright prohibition is neither desirable nor effective. This one shows that bans do not eliminate demand. You cannot ban something and think that you eliminate demand. They drive activity underground, amplify consumer risk, and remove opportunities for oversight. Kenya learned this before passing the recent comprehensive virtual asset legislation. Innovation did not stop. It simply moved out of sight, increasing fraud and reducing transparency. So Uganda must not repeat that experience. So what we learned from Kenya is this a regional turning point? To understand our path forward, is useful to examine developments among our neighbors. On the 4th of November this year, Kenya commenced implementing the Virtual Asset Service Providers Act, a landmark achievement for financial regulation as a continent. So to me, the Kenyan experience offers 3 key lessons. First, comprehensive virtual asset legislation is achievable in an African context. Capacity, political will, and coordination are not barriers when national interest aligns behind clear objectives. Second, Kenya adopted a functional regulatory model. The central bank oversees virtual assets that are used for payments. The Capital Market Authority supervises investment-related virtual assets. This does recognize a simple truth. Identical technologies can produce different economic risks. Thirdly, Kenya provides a clarity. 9 categories of virtual asset activities, from exchanges to custodial wallets to tokenized platforms, are explicitly licensed and supervised. Clarity has replaced guesswork, giving legitimate business roadmap, consumer protection, and regulators real toolkits. Kenya's journey also highlights the cost of delay. Years of gray zone activity produced underground transactions, consumer losses, and limited visibility for authorities. Uganda faces the same risks unless we act decisively and soon rather than later. So what is the path forward for Uganda? Our goal is not to choose between innovation and stability. Our goal is to achieve both through proportionate, well-calibrated regulation that is aligned with global standards and regional realities. Uganda's regulatory framework must rest on 6 foundational pillars. The first pillar to me it will be licensing and fit and proper standards. Only qualified, trustworthy providers should operate. Licensing must apply to both institutions and key personnel with ongoing assessments of integrity, competence, governance, and capital adequacy. Secondly, client asset protection. Providers must segregate client assets, maintain adequate capital, and prevent the use of customer funds for proprietary trading. Global failures such as from Mancox to FTX underline the cost of weak safeguards. And then compliance with AML CFT, the Financial Action Task Force, travel rule, suspicious activity reporting and full transparency are essential. The Financial Integrity Authority must have real-time visibility into virtual asset flows. Fourthly, cybersecurity and operational resilience. Because these assets exist only digitally, cybersecurity is not optional. It is existential. Requirements must include cold storage, independent audits, and tested business continuity plans. Fifthly, we need to talk about market integrity and conduct. Protection against wash trading, pump and dump activities or schemes, misleading advertising, and rug pulls is essential to building a fair market. Finally, transparency and data reporting. Regulators require real-time, read-only access to transaction data. Aggregated market information should be published to support research, policy making, and public trust. These pillars are not theoretical. They are the backbone of every jurisdiction that has safely integrated virtual assets into its financial systems. So even as we begin the conversation about legalizing virtual assets, this must be the backbone to draft research and legislation. Who should regulate? Regulatory architecture is a good footnote. It determines effectiveness. We should learn from Kenya's model, a clear division between Bank of Uganda on payments, and the capital markets on investments, with Financial Intelligence Authority integrated to strengthen oversight and risk management, all coordinated with the Financial Sector Stability Forum. Effective coordination will require clear mandates for each of these regulators, memorandum of understanding, joint supervisory teams, and dispute resolution mechanisms. Regulation succeeds not when one institution does everything, but when every institution does what it does best. Uganda already operates regulatory sandboxes through the Bank of Uganda and the Capital Markets Authority. These offer controlled environments for testing, innovations, assessing risks, and informing regulatory design. I encourage innovations and financial institutions to make active use of these sandboxes. This is how we learn before we legislate, and how we design rules grounded in experience, not speculation. So, my direct appeal to the stakeholders, allow me to speak directly to all the groups that are involved here or represented here. First, the industry. You need to engage constructive, share expertise, embrace regulations as the foundation for sustainable, trustworthy businesses. To the regulators, build capacity, avoid reflexive rule-making, and coordinate tightly. Regulations must be rigorous, proportionate, and evidence-based. To the consumers, be vigilant. Avoid guaranteed return schemes. Invest only what you can afford to lose, but remain open to opportunities that emerge under a safe, supervised framework. To international partners, support us with training, technology, and expertise, while respecting Uganda's context and capacity. Now, I am going to ask a very uncomfortable question, but that's the question that we must confront. And the question has got to do with today's theme. You are saying, quote, from regulation to growth, Uganda as a regional hub for virtual assets, unquote. To me, this is a pressing question that should keep us awake at night and fuel our urgency at the summit. How can Uganda position itself as a regional leader in virtual assets when Kenya is already ahead of us? This is not a question I'm posting lightly. The conference theme today speaks boldly of Uganda as a regional hub. But let's be honest about where we stand. Kenya has a comprehensive legislation. We are still developing ours. Kenya has begun licensing its first virtual asset service providers. We have zero. Kenya has a regulatory clarity that allows businesses to plan, consumers to participate with protection, and regulators to supervise effectively. We are still trying to build that reality. So I ask all of you in this room, whether you represent industry, civil society, academia, or government, what will Uganda's competitive advantage be? What will Uganda offer that Kenya does not? How will we differentiate ourselves? Why would a virtual asset firm choose between Kampala over Nairobi? Why would international investors look to Uganda as the best gateway to East Africa when Kenya has already opened its doors? These are not rhetoric flourishes. These are strategic questions that demand concrete answers. The answers are not simple. It will not happen automatically. It will not happen just because we declare it an aspiration. At this moment, as a regulator, I dare say that Uganda has become a regional hub by, one, moving deliberately but urgently to implement a comprehensive high policy legislation. I talked about this when I compared the case of the oil production legislation in Ghana and Uganda. Today, a number of African countries are trying to learn from Uganda how best to put in place a legislation that governs natural resource acts. So I want to believe that the legislation that we are going to put in place is going to be comprehensive, is going to be high quality legislation that involves all the key stakeholders in its design, all the industrial players in its design. And I want to believe that such legislation is what's going to give us a competitive advantage. We need to invest in a world-class supervisory capacity. Now here I'm talking to the regulators. We need to build capacity at the Bank of Uganda, Capital Markets Authority, Financial Inclusion Authority, because technology is running very, very fast, faster than the regulations. So our regulators cannot continue using yesterday's instruments and tools for supervising today's fast-running. What do we need to do to avoid inhibiting the progress? So that's why we need to invest heavily in world-class supervisory capacity with the regulators. We need to specialize in our areas of comparative advantage. But importantly, we need to build an ecosystem of talent. When I see this room here, this is all talent. You could be doing something, but you are interested in technology. So we have what it takes. We have the talent, but we need to build the talent that is agile, that is invisible into new skills, emerging technologies. So, also infrastructure is very important, and so is expertise. We need to position ourselves strategically within regulatory integration frameworks, and above all, by refusing to accept that being second to legislate means accepting permanent second-tier status. You can be the second to legislate, but aim at being a first-tier status. This is the aspiration I'm seeing in this room today. So, Kenya has shown what is possible. Now, Uganda must show what is achievable with intelligence, determination, and strategic focus. This conference asks whether we can move from regulation to growth, whether Uganda can become a regional hub. I'm here to tell you, yes, we can. But only if we confront honestly where we are, only if we think strategically about differentiation, only if we move with urgency and quality simultaneously, and only if every stakeholder, regulator, industry, academia, civil society commits to this vision with concrete action, not just aspirational rhetoric. Our goal is not to choose between innovation and stability. Our goal is to achieve both, like I said earlier. Well-calibrated regulation aligned to global standards and with no realities. That is my take on this battle topic. I wonder, what is yours? So as I conclude, the choices that we will make here today will define Uganda's digital landscape for generations. We have strong institutions, political will, committed stakeholders, and a clear regional example next door. Uganda does not need to follow. Uganda is ready to lead by building a regulatory framework that protects consumers, supports innovation, strengthens stability, and positions our country as a responsible virtual asset hub for Africa. Let us build a digital financial future worthy of Uganda's talent, creativity, and vision. On that note, I want to thank you all for your very kind attention, and God bless you.
Right. Before a nation can grow, it must first see itself. So right here today, I want us to do one thing. I want to invite you to imagine with me not just with your mind, but with your spirit. With the parts of you that remember what Africa was like before she was told what she wasn't. So if you don't mind, if you're comfortable with it, you can just close your eyes for a bit. I won't perform it. Just close your eyes for a bit and take a deep breath. A slow, deep one. The kind your grandma took before she told you a truth you're not yet ready to hear. I want you to imagine the soil under your feet. Red, warm, and alive. Not just as ground for crop, but as ground for dreams, ideas, as a space for us to grow. Quiet revelation waiting for breath. I want you to imagine an Africa where our gifts don't need permission. Our greatness is not waiting for acceptance. And of course, our brilliance doesn't need a visa. I want you to picture a young Ugandan girl who has dreams so big the sky has to make space for her. And her name is not a reason for compromise, but it holds promise. Where her I want to be is not just a possibility, it is guaranteed. I want you to see a world where our people in Lagos, Kampala, Kigali, Accra are not waiting for them to be accepted, but they are waiting for the world to catch up to who they are. Where we speak the language of innovation, of change. And for the first time, Africa is not taking the back seat. We're the vehicle. Of course, definitely we're the driver. Think of like a Tesla, the one that drives itself. Well, not Tesla made by Tesla, but like an electric vehicle. Now, as you open your eyes, I want you to look around you.
We are overwhelming public response or public interest, and so the central bank is now moving towards a detailed feasibility study towards CBDC, and the results thereof will inform policy position. But also to clarify, I think I had a question earlier this morning. CBDC is not the equivalent of a virtual assets. CBDC is central bank issued digital currency, which has the sovereign backing of the country, and so it's part of financial deepening, and the central bank is exploring that as one of the other potential innovations in our market. But also to add that in many other jurisdictions, the pilot projects on CBDC are actually sitting on blockchain rails. So in a way, this conversation will continue as we explore financial products in the market. Yeah. There was also something, if I may, something about tokenization of gold. I think the question was to the governor, but the governor had already left. The tokenization discussion is part of the broader virtual asset conversation, and that has nothing to do with the central bank's gold reserve program, which is about the diversification of the national reserves. So with this law, the virtual assets law coming into play, anything can be tokenized. You can tokenize gold privately, you can tokenize commodities, maize, coffee, the securities under the Capital Markets Authority, all those products can be tokenized, and that's all that we need is to work on an underlying regulatory framework. But that has nothing to do with the central bank's gold reserve purchase program.
Thank you, Andrew. Josephine? Well, thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me here. So, what I would like to close with is for us at the capital markets, we see opportunity. And Andrew has touched on the issue of tokenization. We see that as an opportunity to, one, lower the investment thresholds and make it even faster. So please, if you have products, do bring them and we look at them. So we see that as an opportunity. We also see as an opportunity to improve our regulatory supervisory technology, because I think it's one of those things that can help us even have tap-approved securities and be able even to track any fraudulent activity with the use of the technology, the blockchain technology. So I know a lot of people have been having in their minds that the regulators don't want blockchain, but blockchain is a good technology that can help us in a number of ways. I just want to pass that message. And it's also an opportunity for us. I think that if we get it right, Uganda can be the center for digital assets. Yeah. So I think that's where we need to work towards. I thank you.
I think you've answered the governor's question. He posed that question of what is our comparative advantage. And I know you want to tax our points, but what's the last word?
Yes, thank you very much. But before I give my last comment, I just wanted to retaliate on what you had asked us to talk about ability for us to trace your money that is offshore. I think many of you saw the recent advert or public notice. Uganda is, we are one of the jurisdictions that have agreed to exchange information. So we are exchanging information with over 127 jurisdictions globally. So, and the message of voluntary disclosure has been going on for the last, I think, about 2 years. It looks like many have not taken that seriously. And the intention was for whoever has got assets offshore, whatever we have, they come and voluntarily disclose. Now, this arrangement has been going on, and last month we were able to exchange. We were able to receive information from those countries. Now, this public notice is just another appeal calling the residents that have got assets outside the country to come and voluntarily disclose, pay the fair share of the taxes that are to be. Yeah, and why am I saying this? This is important. It's important for us to pick this, especially when we are starting such initiatives, so that when time comes, it doesn't come as a what? As a shock. As we discuss the issues of virtual assets, come 2027, we are talking about crypto assets reporting framework, which Uganda has already ascended to. So come 2027, all those jurisdictions will be sharing with us the information that ordinarily will not be able to come across. So I again use this opportunity to make an appeal. If you have anything to disclose, please, the window is open. Come and disclose before we can start the investigation. As I close, our next big step is to establish a clear, collaborative tax and regulatory framework for virtual assets that ensures transparency, promotes innovation, and protects the integrity of our revenue system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agnes. And one last one from FIA.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, my fellow panelists. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for the engaging audience. I really don't have much to add. I just wanted to share with you some quick facts. What FIA is currently seeing in the space. We see transactions related to sanction evasion. So you may need to look at some of your customers, and they are engaged in sanction evasion. Some are coming from neighboring jurisdictions, and they are linked to sanctions. We see cross-bridge laundering. So transactions come to your platform, then they cross to another blockchain. Maybe they are shifting from the Ethereum blockchain, they are moving to the Solana blockchain, they are shifting to the Bitcoin blockchain, they are moving to the USDT blockchain. So we see those transactions happening. Those are not good red flags if you're seeing them in your system. You need to report what we call a suspicious transaction report with FIA. We're also seeing a lot of cyber scams increasing with the use of virtual assets. For those of you who are familiar with pig butchery, romance scams, and online fraud schemes, and payments are being made through that. Let us, the last word is let us innovate. Let us not, we wouldn't want to create an environment where we limit innovation. But while you do the innovation, ask yourself a question. This revolutionary product that I am working on, what are the likely chances that a bad actor or a criminal is likely to use it to their advantage? And what eventually happens is the company will then be sanctioned. You've seen in the news, it's not news that Binance has been sanctioned over $100 million US. And it also brings criminal liability to you as a founder. So you don't want to start a good innovative product and you end up being in trouble with the law enforcement. Then lastly, to inform you that the FIA uses what we call the OML system. It's a system that is used globally by over 100 different FIUs. So we use it to receive information from the reporting entities. We've been using it since 2019 from, for example, the commercial banks. We invite you to come and register and start using this system. We've now customized it to start receiving virtual asset related transactions, putting in mind that there is what we call a travel rule, meaning that the data that you collect has the sender information and the receiver information. The system has been customized to receive all of that information, wallet addresses, transaction hashes, to mention but a few. And then lastly, our FIA offices are located at Resori Towers. That's just next to Sheraton, 4th floor, and Wing B. Please come in, walk in, just to ask for information. If you need more information, we are there to support you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you.